Here's a pretty amazing statistic. Based on annual active users, Pinduoduo is now the largest e-commerce platform in China. That's surpassing even Alibaba. So right away, it's probably pretty easy to see why Pinduoduo is so interesting as a company. Now, one of the reasons why I am starting to take an interest in this company is first of all because of Li Lu. Li Lu actually, I think it was 2 quarters ago, took a tiny stake in PDD. He has about a 1% bet in his overall portfolio on PDD. Now, if there's one man on this planet that I believe has a great insight into the Chinese markets, it's Li Lu. So while it's not a huge percentage of his portfolio, I really wouldn't be surprised to see Li Lu add more to his portfolio in the future. I think his original purchase price was somewhere between $80 a share and $180 a share. And the company is right now trading at about $120 per share. At $120 per share, this might be trading at a large enough margin of safety for Li Lu to get interested in adding more to his position. And if you've been watching this channel, you've probably seen me put out a bunch of videos covering Alibaba. And now that Pinduoduo is actually a larger e-commerce platform based on active annual users, well, it would be very beneficial for us interested in studying Alibaba's business to also understand Pinduoduo. So from an e-commerce perspective, it's definitely one of Alibaba's biggest competitors. In this video, I want to do an initial overview of Pinduoduo's business, and then I will cover some of the financials. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in or have been researching Pinduoduo. Okay, first up, let's cover Pinduoduo's business and what the app experience looks like. To understand Pinduoduo, we need to understand the concept of social commerce. Now, I would call Pinduoduo a pioneer in this space. Social commerce is not a very familiar topic, especially here in the United States. The main idea is that you're buying or selling goods with your social network. At first, it sort of sounds like you're scrolling through Instagram and one of your favorite influencers has a t-shirt for sale. So you click that link and it redirects you to Amazon and you buy that t-shirt. That is not social commerce in this context. In that scenario, Instagram is a layer and it is a social media platform, but you're not really doing anything social other than clicking through a link on a social media platform. Social commerce on Pinduoduo is actually quite different. Say for instance that I'm in the market for toilet paper. Now there are a few options to buy that. I could go to a local grocery store, or I could log on to Amazon and buy it directly from Amazon. So on Pinduoduo, you can find toilet paper, but one of the core differences is that there are usually 2 prices listed. Now the first price is what you would pay as an individual to purchase that toilet paper. And the second price is what I would call the social price or the group price. The group price is lower, but the catch is that you need to get a group of buyers to all buy the same product together. So you and your team come together and can buy something in bulk for a lower price for everybody. So this clearly benefits the customers because they're paying a lower price. It also benefits the producers. It's a lot easier for the producers to get ahead of the orders and plan more into the future. So manufacturers are getting a snapshot of the demand volume ahead of time, which is really nice for them. It's also great for manufacturers because if they see that they're getting large orders for particular products, they might be able to go upstream in the production process and get savings for themselves there, or they might want to allocate more of their manufacturing to that particular item. So Pinduoduo is shaping the way that manufacturers actually sell and stock their items. There's also the potential for even greater cost savings for the customers based on that. There's also a scarcity element to it where there's usually a time limit, say 24 hours, for you to gather a team large enough to make that bulk purchase. I'll leave a link to a video in the description that goes step by step through this group buying process on the app. Basically what happens is you click the group buy price and a payment is initiated, but the payment is not completed until you actually have your entire group. You click pay now with the default payment option as WeChat Pay, and then you get a social media link pop-up where you can share via text, via QR code if you're with somebody in person. You can send voice messages and record it, and then share this group with anybody that you want. So if you want your family to join you in this team, then you can text them the link. If you don't have anybody personally to share in this purchase with you, there is a constantly scrolling list of other people who want people to join their team. So it's very easy to actually get this discounted price. You just can join somebody basically random. And this is great for Pinduoduo because they're constantly acquiring new customers based on this active group sharing of items. Another thing is you can see the activity of other shoppers. So it's sort of like Venmo, how you can see other people's payments to each other. Pinduoduo, you can see purchases. Now say I'm an influencer on Pinduoduo and people are looking at the fact that I just bought all this really nice toilet paper. Well, maybe that merchant is going to get a lot more sales based on that. There's also a gamification element where you can go onto the app and just play games. It's pretty interesting, actually. That's not something that you would ever find on Amazon.com, for instance. And the games help keep the customers on Pinduoduo because their main goal is not for people to go on there and search for a specific item. Their main goal is to get you to continue to browse for something. And as you continue to browse, you might notice that your friend is buying this pair of jeans and, well, you know what? I trust your opinion. I'm going to buy those jeans too. So Pinduoduo is doing a lot to keep their customers in the app as long as possible. Pinduoduo actually started out selling produce simply through the WeChat app, but as they grew more and more, they expanded their categories. So now they sell everything from apples to iPhones. The main way that Pinduoduo makes money is through advertising. Pinduoduo charges a small transaction fee, and that's basically just to cover transaction costs. So it doesn't take much for a new merchant to set up on Pinduoduo. They do, however, offer a bunch of advertising tools, so merchants can spend as much as they want on advertising. And there's a pretty wide variety of options. There's live streaming advertising, there's just basic online banner ads, things like that. So PDD doesn't try to control what type of advertising the merchant wants. It's up to the merchant. As I said before, Pinduoduo has more annual active buyers than Alibaba. Pinduoduo comes in at about 824 million active buyers in a year, and Alibaba for Taobao and Tmall is about 811 million users. So that's the basic overview of Pinduoduo's business model, but I'm sure there's a lot more that we can cover in depth, and I'll probably come back to PDD in a later video in more depth. Okay, next let's talk a little bit about the financials of Pinduoduo. Now this is just going to be a basic overview. I'm not doing a valuation or anything, but I just like to look at their income statement, balance sheet, key ratios, and things of that nature, just to see if I can get any information about the business. One of the first things to note about Pinduoduo is that they are not profitable. While their product is certainly very popular in China, they are still in very high growth mode compared to a company like Alibaba. And I'm not kidding when I say that they're still in high growth mode. For instance, if we take a look at their revenue growth, we can see that year over year in the latest quarter, they grew at almost 240%. At the end of last year, their 3-year average growth was 224% per year. If we compare that to Alibaba, on the other hand, which of course is a much larger company, the latest quarter's revenue growth percentage was about 37%, and their latest 3-year average as of last year was closer to 48%. The companies are in very different stages of growth, but I just wanted to put that into perspective that Pinduoduo has extreme growth right now. The company was founded in 2015, and in 2016, the company had 505 million Chinese yuan in revenue. Now, if we look at the latest 12 months, they have 75 billion Chinese yuan in revenue. Another interesting piece to note is that their operating margin percentage is steadily going back towards zero. So they were losing a ton of money. In 2016, they had a negative 57% operating margin, and the past 12 months, it was negative 12%. So as the company transitions from super hyper growth to wanting to eke out more profitability, that operating margin will almost certainly shoot up well above zero. One thing that does pique my interest is this free cash flow line, where we can see that the free cash flow is pretty much going up in a linear fashion. So we would want to look at the cash flow statements to figure out what's going on with those free cash flows, because they have pretty negative. They lost almost $6 billion in the trailing 12 months. And their free cash flow is sitting at 25 billion Chinese yuan. I'm going to come over to Ticker to look at their balance sheet. Now I have converted this into US dollars just because it's easier for me to understand than the Chinese one. So at first glance, especially because of how fast this company is growing, the balance sheet looks really good. They have almost $13 billion worth of cash and short-term investments. Now if we contrast that with a total debt amount of about $2 billion, they have a net debt position of almost negative $11 billion. So they basically have liquid assets for days to cover any debt obligations that might need to be repaid. If we're looking at traditional measures such as book value per share, for Pinduoduo, we're not going to see any value. As we can see, tangible book value per share is only $7.50. Contrast that with the share price of nearly $120 per share. The company appears to be pretty asset light so far, so they don't have a lot of property, plant, and equipment, or any inventory to speak of. So about half of their assets are actually in cash and short-term equivalents. The market cap of the company is $150 billion, so it's no small fry, but compared to other giants like Alibaba and Tencent in China, it is still pretty small. That's certainly not a comprehensive view of the financials or the business, but I hope that helped you get a little bit more of an understanding about Pinduoduo, and I'm sure I will be revisiting this company in the future. If you like this video, you may enjoy my curated playlist over here where I cover all things Alibaba. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end here, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.